Hello and welcome to the second game of this round of 8 game in the ESL Power Cup 2 between LaFaf as the Marines in the bottom left here of Charian's Rest and JBJ as the Orcs. The same heroes going in for both sides, both teams happy with how it went last time, and I am assuming that we're going to see basically the same thing from both sides, probably. Heavy focus on scouts coming in from LaFaf, and the standard boy shooter composition coming in from LaFaf, which is sort of all there is for Orcs, really. Just getting that big swarmy playstyle going on early, which is very fun. Early on, we're going to have the barracks built down the back here, getting them scouts out, the boys at the top, who are actually going to catch this servitor, which is quite a nice little catch for the start of the game. Standard captures all around the map. LaFaf won the first game of this series, in case you did not watch that. And now we're having the first war tower go up. Orcs deciding to set up on the left-hand side. Orcs still very much split on where to set up. I've seen both side points as very heavy choices for this in the early game. Boys getting a bit of a war on there to a bit of a hype up there. It's called a hype. It's called a shout. Yeah, they hype themselves up. I'm going to keep calling it a hype. But these scouts are going to come in and really turn the tide of this fight. Very powerful. This choice of having this one early scout sniper, I think, is very good. It gives you that extra bit of punch, which going as this strategy, you really are lacking in the early game. The scouts work when they are in overwhelming numbers, and so having this attack sniper composition earlier on is very good for that. You can see that the servitor was in the back there actually holding up the shooters, which is also a very nice play there from LaFaf. LaFaf, one of my favourite players in DoW3. I think he really thinks about everything. He really puts a lot of work in. Gonna find these boys with these scouts up here, but scouts are not going to be able to fight boys on their own. That's a good grenade there, but once again, seeing how scouts are better in numbers, that's the only grenade they have, and they have no DPS now, so they're going to have to run away from this, and these boys should be entirely safe. There is the rest of the army coming down here, but as long as this war goes off and JBJ reacts to pushing on his boys, this could go pretty well for them, although these boys are getting hit right now, and so he needs to get in there. Sprinting down, he going to get hit by a bit of grenade there, but only half of his army. He knows the scouts are on the high ground. They are taking up their heavy cover, which is very good for them, and these boys almost going down entirely now. They're not even backing off. They are starting to now, but I think they've taken a bit too much damage, and these snipers will be able to pick them off in the retreat. So, not quite decisive enough action there from JBJ, but this is doesn't really have like big enough of the horde yet, and he's lost a few squad of boys, which is really slowing him down from getting up. This is sort of how a lot of DoW3 games do seem to go, and why this scout sniper composition has come back into fashion and is working so well and is being used so extremely heavily, is because this game just seems to be won a lot of the time by just slowly picking advantages, slowly picking things off and just getting very slight advantages. There are such large ways to come back in a lot of these games that there's no way to just make a big decisive play a lot of the time that will give you a big lot ahead. So you get a lot of these where the reason LaFaf is so ahead now is not because he's done anything major that has given him these advantages. It's because he keeps just getting an Orc squad here and there. Now he's getting a lot of hits onto this back, and we're seeing the Storm Boys come down here right in front of the Orc forces. Once again, LaFaf is going to hold off on getting his hero. Interested to see if he gets to a point where he can hold off in time for Gabe, or if he's going to go with the Librarian again, or even if JBJ can force him into getting the KT early. Some really bad grenades there. They're going to entirely miss. Feel like they might have been auto-aimed. As much as in a lot of these big fights, auto-aiming abilities can feel like a really nice thing to do, I would advise against it as much as possible. Unless it's a huge fight where, you know, it gets to the point where micro isn't going to be as much of an advantage on these smaller abilities. I didn't know that you could do that for so long. And I kept wondering why a few Orc players that I watched just always missed their stick bombs. Always. And it's because they were always, if you click on an ability, where's the shooter? God damn it! Why are these all boys? If you click on an ability like Stick Bomb and then click it again, it will automatically target the nearest enemy. So that is what a lot of players have been doing, which leads to some very bad grenade hits sometimes, especially in these smaller engagements where individual micro of units and smaller abilities becomes a lot more important. So this is a point where JBJ could make something happen. He could bring something back. A couple of scout grenades have already been used up in the anticipation for this attack. The wire has gone down though, which is what LaFaf was looking for, and it looks like he's going to back off and just entirely be safe from this gambit if it does come in. It's a big army. It's quite nicely split apart, but it's going to just run into a big shield generator here, which is going to be really hard to blow. There are already scouts here with some snipers in the back still, so it could be done. The Flamer has not been held down yet, but it is starting to get held down yet, and they have actually forced the entire of LaFaf's army off of this point. Now, the thing that makes this dangerous is that flamethrower is just going to hit there and continuously hit the boys. A big slam there into a lot of people from those scouts. And the Orcs are going to retreat, knowing that that position is too great for LaFaf defensively. And this is looking quite frustrating for JBJ here. There's just no way that he can push into LaFaf's forces if LaFaf is careful. He just needs to keep backing off, letting the flamethrower and the scout snipers deal the damage from far back, and keeping the scouts ahead of them to use those grenades and hold any positions. And this is even more frustrating when you have situations like this where you just have the scout sniper just out of range, just pipping you. And this is the sort of thing that made them so popular early on, I believe, in the beta period of this game, as small as it was, is that you could just do this. And JBJ quite rightfully thinks he can't really take an engage without WAR, and so he's going to wait for that, and so he's going to just let these scout snipers just tip at him while he's doing it. And the WAR gives a huge indication that he's definitely going to attack now, and so LaFaf backs off, keeping the scouts decently split, keeping the shield generator up. As the Orcs run in, he can throw some scout grenades in. One's going to hit really big on all of the shooters in the back. Another one's going to hit there, really good again. And the boys are getting tore up while there's no DPS on the back. A vortex grenade going to go down. Another stun grenade going to go down on the clumped up shooters at the back. The Storm Boys are getting in the back, but all of the boys have gone down. The shooters now come up, but they've had a lot of damage taken down to them. And this army is just now so far ahead for LaFaf. This is just the textbook Scout Squad Marine engagement right here. And this is just awful for JBJ right here. If I was JBJ and this was a quick match, I'd be out of the game already. I would have gone. I'd be like, no, this is not happening. I'm not making these big attacks and just getting nothing for it. It's very upsetting for the boy. And as you can see in the back, damage upgrade number 1 has just gone down. Number 2 upgrade overall is going down in the form of the health upgrade. Big grenade hit there, but very little army from JBJ. This first shooter squad is getting absolutely torn up already. The kill team right on the front, going to clear out these shooter boys. Storm boys in the back. Scout squads will be going down. They're not the most incredibly strong. Getting chased away. Another quite bad stick grenade there. And now a lot of these scout squads have got really low. They've sort of been in combat a bit too long again. Good stick squad hits there on some unmicroed scouts. And I feel like, as I was mentioning before, this game's about chip damage. This game's about not losing anything. It's like, this might be a strange and slightly memey answer to give for some of the community, but it's like how Heroes of the Storm differs from League of Legends and Dota. It's less about getting advantages and more about not losing an advantage, and that sort of, I think, is shown quite well by what just happened there. LaFaf just had a huge play in that awesome fight that he absolutely dominated, but then he pushed up and lost some stuff, and now he's in less of an impressive lead than he was because a couple of scout squads have gone down and the boys have come back up. You know, this game has such huge comeback potential that big plays like that are really not that good. That push-in, I think, was very misguided by LaFaf way too early. And now what JBJ might be doing right here is something that he probably should have started doing a lot early. So he cannot make these big pushes onto the shield generators. That's just not going to happen. What he needs to do is take the rest of the map. Scout squads, what are they really good at doing? Hiding way far back and defending. What are they not very good at doing? Necessarily fighting out in the open if you have a lot of space to split up your troops and you can take over the rest of the map. Now he's actually getting caught quite badly out here. Scouts have come in from every angle and he doesn't have anyone really able to get some good damage onto the scouts. His boys once again are going to be hit a lot by there. Big taunt by this. If only the boys weren't held up and they had their stick bombs, a lot of damage could go into there. A big fist of Gork's going to hit and we could see some big damage coming in from this Weird Boy as none of the scouts are moved at all. The Weird Boy just absolutely annihilating the entire scout force and it's gone. And right, once again, we've seen why it's about chipping. It doesn't matter how far ahead, if you misposition your army all clumped together and you take some hits from a big, heavy burst DPS force, you are absolutely gone. Weird Boy actually just teleporting out there. He's going to leave this point here. He's taken too much damage from his boys to actually get anything in here. And you can see, once again, some scouts just coming out. Reinforcing these armies is very easy in this game. So right now, both players really need to be looking for a win condition. Last game, LaFaf's was to come in with that big scout army to hold down the Orcs, and to have the last cannons to finish off any enemies. Now, he doesn't actually have... there we go, there's his Doctrine Chapel. He doesn't actually have tier 2 yet, but he is going for it. And once he hits that, he can start getting the last cannons out there, which will give him the ability to take down these buildings a lot easier than he has been doing. So the fight's going to start here. The Nobs are getting in here, then the Nobs could get a really good taunt here. And they're going to catch all of the scouts and these and this kill team, and big spells coming in here. Going to absolutely annihilate that whole army. The scouts are still at the back, getting a lot of shots off though with no damage. Lightning Blast is going to come in. Let's find out what it's called rather than calling it lightning anything. Fury of the Ancients. I'm never going to remember that. The big lightning bolt thing. Going to come in. Librarian trying to hold off this, but he is now pretty much on his own. There are some scouts coming in on the side, but as long as these orcs aren't clumped too much, these scouts aren't going to do incredibly well. The Storm Boys can jump on them and really give them some trouble. They're going to get up in that heavy cover, and it looks like JBJ is actually just going to ignore them. Like, they can't do anything up from that heavy cover, so, you know, why bother? These guys are unfortunately on there, and there is going to be a drop coming back onto these Storm Boys, so onto these Shooter Boys even, so a lot of damage being mitigated again. Now the Librarian has put up a wall, but unfortunately all that wall is going to do is keep some boys in there, because he's going to die in there. Now these guys are actually entirely safe because there's nothing that can deal damage to him, but at the back of the army, the boys who have just been sat here under the fire of these scouts from the heavy cover are starting to really get whittled down. Now the Weird Boy is there, which means that you're probably going to be fine overall, but they have nothing to actually get into this shield and do some damage. I think there may be more focus elsewhere by JBJ trying to get some damage onto the shield generator, but the scouts are going to hold it up again. He's got the scout snipers doing some damage in on the side. There are some Nobs over here who are maybe trying to do some sort of counter-attack, and a lot of boys moving back to his forward position to reinforce now, as the Storm Boys just causing a bit of havoc, trying to do a bit of old-school striking scorpionsing by just really keeping on this, just forcing every scout who comes on here to try and keep them off to get off of there. And these snipers are doing some damage, but it's taken them a long while. Now the Storm Boys are going to have to probably leave now, as there are multiple scout squads here, but again, scout squad comes in to stop them, they just kill them and carry on. But the whole army of scouts now arrives and actually manages to take them out. They were not kept alive. So another war going down. I don't know if it's incredibly right to keep going. These Nobs have got entirely over their depths now with so many scouts. You can see this line at the bottom just getting so huge over here. Now, another good taunt here coming in from this. So this entire army on the left side of the map is going down. There are still some scouts in the middle. This clump is horrible. This needs to be split and some needs to be moved, especially over here, to get out of the way, because that's going to happen. Everything got stunned, but he does have enough just straight up firepower to take this down. Does not want to push into the turret, as that's going to be even worse, but is now going onto this heavy cover. Grenades probably too early. I don't know. That sort of seems a bit useless to me. Get the knobs in there and get them all in melee. Get the taunt down. But the knobs actually just getting absolutely obliterated trying to come into here. It just did not work at all. And now the KT has got all onto these orcs, just shooting at this hard cover. I don't think it's ever right to shoot at the hard cover, like, unless you can get in there and stop them. It's just it's so powerful. Just there's no reason to go against that. You just don't. And once again, this game has been thrown back to JBJ. This is a real tennis match they're having here. Oh, 2 stick bombs going down there, not going to hit anything. Fist of Gork going down, not being incredibly useful. And once again, the orcs are getting whittled down. Now we're actually getting, it looks like, the 2nd and 3rd upgrades here, and he's actually going up to tier 3, is that? Yeah, that is tier 3. He's actually going straight up to tier 3, which is unexpected. He might be considering in this fight that Devastators won't be enough, perhaps, that he really just, this time, is going to go up. Now that he's had less of a successful early game, he is going to go up to those Predators and really try and get that incredibly strong late game on. What was the Orc doing? The Orc's actually making 2 pile of guns. I wonder if that is a mistake. Interesting if it is. You know, I haven't seen anyone actually go for 2 in any of these games. So actually got Gretchens going in forward, have scanned out all of these scouts, which is something very good, something that I haven't seen him doing before, but he is doing now. He's also found these minefields and can start taking some of them out. This is something that he should have been doing a lot more in these games, probably, that a lot of players who get very upset at this on ladder should also probably do. Armies probably also shouldn't be clumped like this, but I mean, he's not actually attacking yet, so you can give him a bit of a lenience here. We are ready to have the Librarian down, and Gabriel Angelos is also close to being able to come down. Trying to put up another war tower here, but this is actually going to get hit while it's making. Ooh, a big stun going down there, and the Stormboy's coming in afterwards. That's a very good engage coming down from there. The Fist of Gork also going to hit quite a few. Not the best hit I've seen, but a very good taunt, taking a lot in there. Now, this drop pod in the front is going to do a lot to keep these alive, but some good AoE damage coming in from the Weird Boy is going to absolutely obliterate a lot of these scouts once again. The boy's taken very little damage from the scouts in this fight, and this is going to be the tide. You know, whoever can get their big hits off first is definitely winning these fights. Gabriel is now available, and this is interesting because this is the biggest swing that there will be in this game, because there are still 2 more elite points needed by the Orc before Mega Knobs are down. Gabriel will come out, and he will be a menace. Trying to deal with this scout force has already been proved to be difficult enough without this huge dreadnought of a man in amongst your forces. Some mines doing a ton of damage there. Some scouts gonna finish off that Knob squad. More scouts coming in here once again, hitting these boys who are standing together. Big lightning, big Fist of Gork in return, huge Fist of Gork. Vortex Grenade going down. Taunt onto the important elites down here at the back, but there isn't much damage left coming from the Orcs. Gabriel Angelos is down here as well, and the Weird Boy will teleport away. So Gabriel Angelos really coming in there to save that at the end, although I'm not sure any of these elites would have died even without him. There just wasn't enough Orc firepower left. But this big Orc army is going. We do have now the pile of guns throwing up the double upgrades. Very nice to see this. Although a small little attack force here from the Marines coming in. We've got a couple of scouts coming down to this, and that was kind of bad. That was I wonder if he thought there were more scouts there who just hadn't revealed themselves yet, because he fired out one of his big AoEs onto just one group of scouts and a couple of heroes. That really isn't optimum use of that, and now he's sitting in the front. Gabriel Angelos is doing his dreadnought thing, just getting into the midst of the enemy army and doing some absolute havoc. Kill team is able to come back up. Fist of Gork is going to come in. Going to hit a few scout squads, even some that were invisible there. So that time turned out a lot better if he was trying to find invisible people. And this fight is now going quite well for LaFaf. A lot of scouts here in the back who haven't taken a lot of damage, and there aren't many orcs here doing anything really at all. Gabriel Angelos is doing a lot of damage, but the Mega Knobs come down. Yes, they actually have just got up, thrown down their wall, just got enough points for them. It's still this scout squad, which I'm pretty sure has been here from the beginning of the game. And now the orcs are going to try and push this back. They've got some boys rushing into the back here. A lot of these scouts have still not shown themselves, so they're actually not going to get a big hit on here. They probably think they're even more ahead than they are. But Gabriel is getting dangerously low. Scout grenade coming out there, actually going to miss everything. Oh, very close there. That stone wall just keeping Gabriel alive. But Weird Boy is going to get out here to try and get something. Goes a bit too close to Angelos and is going to take a big hit there. Oh, but there we go. Popped. Absolutely destroyed. And the Weird Boy is now going to get out of here. This Librarian is now in quite a lot of danger. There are some last cannons coming from the side. So this setup that he's been going for is working now. He has started getting them out. And he does have another squad of last cannons and his machine cult back here ready to start pumping out that late game. And this is looking very bad for LaFaf because that Marine late game is so powerful. And he's now just desperately trying to make something happen before that happens. You can see the last cannons being out. They're in the back. There's not super much you can do to them. A Dreadnought has now been dropped into the middle, and this has got to feel bad. He's just dealt with one Dreadnought in the form of Gabriel Angelos, and now there's another one. These heavy knobs are actually just going to get obliterated by the las cannons here. And now the forward point of the orcs is going to fall, and this normally in most games is the point where orcs will start to drop out, because this forward base for orcs is so important. You can remake if you have some way to be ahead, if you've done some damage, but trading shield generators in this is just not really what we talk about when we talk about trading objectives here, really. And there are just so many scouts now. Even with this horrible blob of scouts, they're just going to be too much. This entire front pace has been done, and now the pilot guns are going to start going down. And there, you do see the tower thrown in from JBJ. So well played to LaFaf, who is going to come away with a 2-0 and make his way up to the semi-finals in the ESL Power Core 2. Very fun games to watch. I'm sure that it will not be as entertaining if every Marine game is full scouts, which I expect a lot of them will be. But I'm very excited to see some Eldar play, and to perhaps see some more successful Orc play, and to watch some more of this ESL Cup, which I will be doing tomorrow.